Hey folks, it's Patriot Nurse, and in today's segment I want to discuss with you how to care for someone with intractable vomiting at home. What does that mean? When somebody's got vomiting and it won't stop, either because they've contracted the norovirus or they've eaten something, a bit of food that had a really high bacterial count of like E. coli or salmonella or listeria, we need to get ahead of that vomiting. A note here about what happens to people when they have vomiting that won't stop. The first thing is they get seriously dehydrated. That is a big no-no, because in order to kick nasties from the body, the person has to be decently hydrated. And when they're losing all that fluid because they're chucking it up, that makes it a lot more difficult. The second thing that happens is that they lose their acid. Okay, now the body is always trying to stay at a happy balance, about 7.35 pH-wise, between acid and base. What happens when they chuck up all that acid is that that balance starts to shift. Okay, the acid in our stomachs is the main area in the body where acid is produced. But there's another area, and that's actually when you breathe, right? When you outgas with the lungs, not gas that way, gas this way from respiration. Okay, so when a person is dehydrated and they're losing their acid and they're doing functionally an ab workout by chucking everything up all the time, it puts an inordinate amount of strain on the body. And that's one of the reasons why you see people be hospitalized when they have vomiting that will not stop. The groups of people that tend to have the hardest time with this are your young children and your older adults. Essentially the people that you didn't want to take with you on the Oregon Trail, for those of you who ever played America's favorite computer game. On Oregon Trail, the very young and the very old were, of course, more susceptible to disease. They always seem to die of dysentery or cholera, all right? Imagine that. Those are both digestive diseases, okay? So in the case of vomiting, we need to make sure, first off, if somebody has got at least like 2 times worth of vomiting, any 2 instances of anything is going to establish what? A pattern. Anybody here play music? It takes 2 beats to establish a tempo. Same thing with medicine. If we see 2 instances of something in succession and we can attribute a singular source here, we're expecting that this is a pattern, all right? So we need to first off make sure that people are hydrated as best as you can, even if it means getting ice chips and spoon feeding them to people. Get some fluids in them. There are other ways to get fluids in people which we shan't discuss in today's video. I'll save that for class because it's definitely fun. And I'm not talking about IVs, by the way. You need to make sure that we're keeping people's fluids propped up, okay? Another thing that we need to make sure that we're doing is to add a little bit of acid back into the fluids that people are drinking in order to keep that acid a pretty good mix. Lemon juice and water is one way of doing this. Another one is my all-time favorite, which is the Bragg's apple cider vinegar. This is the raw apple cider vinegar, definitely the one you want to go with. So for adding apple cider vinegar, I like to put about 1 teaspoon, half to 1 teaspoon in 8 ounces of water for rehydrating people, and also for giving just a little bit of acid back in there. Some ways that you can deal with upset stomach after, I don't know, a nasty piece of meat that you ate or something that perhaps was not the most appetizing. You can squirt some of this stuff. This is actually a bentonite clay. You're not going to chug the whole thing. I like to do about a teaspoon, again, in 8 ounces of water of bentonite clay. And what it does is it actually soaks in the nasties from the stomach. It soaks up extra acid. It's essentially like a sponge, and it soaks the gross stuff out of what you ate. Activated charcoal capsules are another way to do that, but I'll put links to both of those in the description box below. Some people we'll use things like, Pepto-Bismol or generic bismuth subsalicylate. These are members of the aspirin family, and I really don't like shoving extra aspirin down the GI tract if I don't need to, because it kind of tends to lend itself towards bleeding with folks, and I really am not a big fan of that. I like to try and go as natural as possible, as best as possible, if we're not in a hardcore emergency situation. And the best way to avoid being in an emergency situation with vomiting is to get ahead of it and to get it stopped as expediently as possible. The ways that people really get themselves into trouble is when they keep vomiting and vomiting and vomiting, and there's no replacement fluid going in there whatsoever. If you give the body what it needs to prop it up, to keep all of its systems functioning, it can mount, in most cases, an effective defense, but it has to be hydrated and it has to be in a good balance and equilibrium, okay? When people's electrolytes get messed up too from vomiting and also diarrhea, that can cause issues all over the body, including with the heart, okay? So we need to make sure that we're rehydrating people also with electrolytes, and oral IV is a pretty good solution. Pedialyte's okay too, but I'll put links in the description box below to the oral IV. That works pretty sweet. It works pretty well. So in summary here, the things that you need to make sure that you're paying attention to when people are vomiting intractably, they won't stop. Their digestive system is bound and determined to chuck up all its contents. Keep their fluid volume up. Keep them propped up, okay? And also try and keep that acid-base balance as close to normal for that person as possible. That'll help you a lot. I hope it was helpful for y'all today. If you did enjoy the video, please subscribe to me, Patriot Nurse, and also like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, come out to class as well. There's only so much I can go over with you guys on the interwebs. Being in class for 2 days makes all the difference in the world. So make sure to check out our full schedule. There's so many people who have emailed me and said, hey, I've been trying for the past 2-3 years to get into the class, and now this year I finally can. Make it this year that you get into class. So check the full schedule out again on the website, thepatriotnurse.com. I hope it was helpful for y'all. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Chag Sameach, happy Purim to everyone in the tribe. And for those of you going back to the work week, to the grind next week, I hope you have a wonderful and productive next week. And also to everyone who celebrates Easter, I hope you guys have a wonderful time with your family. For now, it's Patriot Nurse signing off, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.